Kamen Rider Gaim is one of the most iconic and thought-provoking series from the Neo Heisei era. Not only does it distinguish itself through its vibrant, fruit-inspired armor and the unique mechanic of using lockheeds for transformation and combat, but the show also delves into deeply relevant societal issues that transcend its fantastical elements. While many aspects of the show explore themes such as identity, justice, and the complexity of human nature, one of the most striking and unsettling aspects of Gaim is its portrayal of evil. Unlike many traditional Kamen Rider shows, which focus on external antagonists, otherworldly threats, or apocalyptic dangers, Kamen Rider Gaim presents a much more insidious and relatable form of evil, a reflection of modern-day corporate greed. This theme runs throughout the series, specifically through its depiction of the Yggdrasil Corporation, and it is a narrative that continues to resonate in the modern world. At the core of Kamen Rider Gaim lies the conflict between the Beat Riders, who represent the ordinary people consumed in a world full of greed and exploitation, and the Yggdrasil Corporation, a powerful and manipulative entity bent on using Helheim's resources for its selfish gain. However, what truly sets Gaim apart is that the series presents a clear inversion of the traditional Kamen Rider villain archetype. The Invis, monstrous creatures from the Helheim forest, initially appear to be the primary antagonists of the story. However, upon closer examination, it becomes evident that the true villains of the series are not the monsters, but the corporate entity exploiting them. The Inves serve merely as the backdrop, the catalyst manipulated by the Yggdrasil Corporation to further its agenda of power and control. The Helheim Forest itself is an inexplicable phenomenon that existed long before the events of the series. While the forest is a source of danger and chaos, it is not inherently evil. It is a neutral, uncontrollable force in the world. The real threat arises from human greed and ambition, specifically embodied by Yggdrasil Corporation. This company seeks to harness the Helheim's forest's resources, specifically the lock seeds, for its purposes, profiting from the chaos it deliberately orchestrates. Yggdrasil's creation of the Sengoku drivers and the deliberate distribution of lock seeds to vulnerable individuals is not done out of some noble cause, but rather to incite division and violence, further consolidating the corporation's power. By introducing these dangerous devices into the hands of young, impressionable people in the dance factions, the company ensures that conflicts will arise and chaos will ensue, which elevates Yggdrasil's standing within the city. This exploitation mirrors real-world practices, particularly in the corporate sector where companies continually prioritize profit over the well-being of individuals. In the context of Kamen Rider Gaim, this parallels the actions of large corporations that often exploit resources and workers for financial gain. The Beat Riders represent the workers in this scenario, young people who become pawns in a greater corporate game. Their participation in dangerous battles, fueled by the power of the Sengoku drivers and lock seeds, is manipulated by the Yggdrasil to maintain control over the city. These young people, unbeknownst to them, become part of a system designed to create chaos and instability, all for the corporation's profit. Yggdrasil's actions are all framed under the guise of a utopian promise. The corporation markets itself as the city's savior, promising prosperity and a better tomorrow for everyone. However, this image is nothing more than a well-crafted facade, a smokescreen to cover up the exploitation behind the scenes. Yggdrasil's true motives are far from benevolent. They are interested only in maintaining their power and expanding their influence, regardless of the cost to society. This duality between their public image and their true exploitative nature is a direct commentary on how some corporations today present themselves as charitable or helpful organizations, where in reality, they only perpetuate harm for the ulterior motive of profit. This theme of corporate manipulation and false narratives of altruism is highly relevant to contemporary issues. Take, for example, the healthcare system in the United States. Insurance companies, which are supposed to provide critical assistance to individuals facing medical emergencies, often prioritize profits over patients. Many of these companies deny life-saving treatments to those in need, forcing people to choose between their health and financial ruin. Despite marketing themselves as essential services that aim to help people, these corporations often do the opposite, furthering their financial interests while leaving their customers with little to no coverage. In Kamen Rider Gaim, we see a similar pattern where the corporation exploits its resources while using propaganda to maintain a facade of benevolence, all the while continuing to cause harm to the very people it claims to serve. The series' portrayal of the Beat Riders, the young members of various dance factions, highlights how ordinary people are forced into these systems of exploitation. These individuals, many of whom are simply trying to survive in a broken system, are manipulated into using the Sengoku drivers and lock seats, becoming pawns in a much larger game of corporate greed. Kota and Miki Kurishima's evolving relationship throughout the series serves as a poignant reflection of this dynamic. In the beginning, the two are close friends, but as Miki discovers the darker truth behind Yggdrasil's actions, he becomes consumed by a desire to fix things, believing that he alone can save the world. His beliefs are shaped by the propaganda and manipulation of the corporation, leading him to become a pawn of Yggdrasil's agenda, and eventually its primary antagonist. Miki's descent into corruption is not a result of malice, but of manipulation, a reflection of how an individual can be shaped and controlled by corporate greed. His story demonstrates how propaganda, brainwashing, and the lure of power can corrupt even the most well-intentioned individuals. Miki's character arc conveys a powerful commentary on how personal choices can become distorted when influenced by a system prioritizing control over humanity. Kota, on the other hand, represents the average person caught in the crossfire of these larger systemic forces. Despite his best intentions, Kota is constantly pushed to fight against forces beyond his control, struggling to understand the greater implications of the Sengoku drivers and Lockseed. His journey is one of awakening, as he realizes the true nature of the world around him and the consequences of Yggdrasil's manipulation. Through Kota's perspective, the series reflects how ordinary people often find themselves at the mercy of powerful, exploitative systems designed to keep them in the dark and manipulate their actions for profit. As the series unfolds, we see the devastating impact of the Inves on the population. People begin to experience strange, unexplainable symptoms, and civilians are attacked by the very monsters that Yggdrasil had set into motion. Meanwhile, the Beat Riders are framed as the cause of the chaos. Those who used the Sengoku drivers and Lockseeds were scapegoated and blamed for the disaster engineered by the corporation. This manipulation of the truth by turning the victims into perpetrators parallels how powerful institutions in the real world often deflect blame onto the vulnerable to maintain control and protect corporate interests. Kamen Rider Gaim may present these themes in an exaggerated fictional context, but the issues it addresses are painfully real. Through its exploration of corporate greed, the consequences of unchecked power, and the personal struggles of its characters, the series offers a chilling commentary on the ongoing battle between the individual and the system. It forces us to ask difficult questions about our world and the systems that govern our lives. Kamen Rider Gaim is not just a story about heroes and villains, it reflects society's perpetual fight against corporate exploitation, the manipulation of the vulnerable, and the corrupting influence of unchecked power. In a world where corporate interests often come before the needs of individuals, Kamen Rider Gaim serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers of greed and the importance of challenging systems that seek to exploit and divide us. By shining a light on the dark side of corporate power, the series encourages viewers to reflect on the structures that govern their own lives and to question the promises of a better tomorrow when the reality is often very different. Kamen Rider Gaim is a bold, timely, and unforgettable story that resonates long after the final episode.